Welcome to episode 16 of DJ Center Stage TV. I'm Jim Collins. He is the music service account rep for TM Studios in Dallas. While he works with both radio stations and DJs, he originally got connected with TM as a DJ subscribing to the Prime Cut service. He believes so much in the company and the service, he accepted a job with TM right out of college. That was 14 years ago when he moved from Chicago to Dallas to work for TM Studios and has been there ever since. Welcome, Jim Weisz, to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great having you here. Jim, for our listeners, could you share when you started DJing and how that led to the opportunity to work at TM Studios?
Yeah, so it's kind of two little stories. So the first would be how I started, which was I was in high school and I was very involved in the student activities and got to meet the DJs who DJ'd our dances and started asking them questions. I was really interested in it. And even before that point, I remember being, junior high, I remember recording stuff on the radio and trying to pretend to do different things and announcing and stuff. And my senior year of high school, I was able to, I was given the role of playing music in between classes on Fridays. So it was really cool. I got to program it. I got to pick my music and play it. So it was really fun for me, and I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the feedback I got because the students all knew it was me, and so they'd be like, "Oh, I really like the music you picked out today," and so that was really cool. And then as far as coming to work at TM, so I tried a bunch of different music services, and none of them really hit the point. None of them were 100% perfect. And then someone had said, "Hey, well, there's this company TM Century that makes music or has music services for radio stations. They don't do them for DJs. However, they're about to launch something for DJs." So I got in touch with them, got a sample, and literally I just told them, "Hey, this is terrible. This is not going to work. You guys aren't going to do well in the DJ industry if you're trying to sell this product to DJs." And they said, "Well, tell us more." And it was really cool. They listened. I was 18 years old. And here they were, they had me on conference calls. I remember them setting up a time to call me in between my classes. They were just asking me, tell us what to do, tell us what to do. And they completely changed the product based on my feedback. And so I started working from them from my dorm room in my senior year of college. And then upon graduating, they said, "Hey, you have a job here if you ever want to come here and work for us." And I did.
The nice thing about it is, too, you have a great understanding about DJing, and I think that coupled with your role and what you do at TM is perfect because you understand what DJs are looking for and what they need, and as far as those mixes go, too. Can you share when you started subscribing to Prime Cuts and when you chose this service over other alternatives?
Yeah, I want to say probably 15 years ago, because it was about a year or two before I started that I started subscribing. And for me, it was at the time I wanted something that updated weekly, because music moves way faster now than it did even back then, because now there's all these different avenues to get your music. But it was still moving quicker than I was getting it on the other services I had tried. And I was doing a lot of schools. And, those kids are just so demanding. They want the stuff they heard yesterday right away.
Right.
So I just had this predicament, and there was other weekly services because Prime Cuts was one of, I think, only 2 weekly services for DJs at the time. And the other one was really expensive, and I was a college student. I'm like, I can't afford whatever it was, $80 a month or something like that. So I said, when I heard about Prime Cuts, and at the time it was only $30 a month. It was crazy. It's this is a steal. I got to sign up for this service.
Yeah, it's very affordable. That was one of the reasons why I subscribed and I decided to. And I do the weekly subscription too, so I get the updates on a weekly basis, and I love it. Different genres of music that I never would have even thought that would be offered are part of that. You had Christian, you had the urban, and smooth jazz, which is great, especially if you're a wedding DJ and you're doing cocktail hours or dinner for that. So how has the service changed over the years? I'm sure when you came on board, and with a lot of your suggestions and to make the subscription what it is, all throughout the years. So how was it different when you first started?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So very different. So when we first started, it was just a once a week audio CD that came in the mail, and that's how every single person got it, even radio. So back to before I even started, we've offered downloads for radio stations for over 20 years, probably like 22, 23 years. But even radio was still wanting a regular CD. That's how they preferred to get the music. And then over time with technology, things evolved. So we transitioned to MP3s, which, now we're owned by Cumulus. So now we're part of this big, large conglomerate. But for the bulk of my time here, we were owned by a board of directors, basically. We had a CEO here, which was really cool. Like I walked into his office, and he's the one who gave me the job offer. I'd walk in his office and say, hey, this is what I want to do. And it would either be yes or no. And it was kind of cool because if he said yes, then I was able to just run with it. And I can vividly remember when I came to him and said, hey, more and more DJs are DJing from computer. We need to offer an MP3 format. And at the time, the record labels weren't too keen on offering downloads. So I said, well, if we can't do it on download, let's put it at least on a disc because it'll at least be a way easier. At least we've ripped it for them. We've tagged it. We've done everything for them. They pop it and they transfer it. And it's good. So that was one transition. And then the other thing was just with the addition of the MP3 slash downloads is we had the capability to include more music. When it was a CD, you have a finite amount of space you can use for audio. When it's an MP3 disc, you have more room for data. So we started including more and more music, kind of against my preference, because I had all these people telling us, oh, like you have more room, put more music on there. And I as a DJ myself, I was like, why? Like, that's just clutter. Like, why do you want all this other stuff we're putting out? We put out so much music every week that it's never going to go anywhere. Why do you want all that garbage? And then finally I just gave in because I said, well, if we're hearing this from enough people, it doesn't cost us, at the time, it didn't cost us anything more. I said, so let's go ahead and start putting this additional content on there. So that's like, one of the things you talked about, all the different genres, like UK for me is a really cool series that we have on that I don't think anyone else does. And there's some really unique versions, some cool songs that never get released here in the US. So
I love
that's probably the difference is just the amount of music and how we deliver it.
Right. And just going back to talking about, you made some suggestions when you first started and in between classes. What are some other suggestions that you had when you first started your role?
Yeah. When they first started offering the discs, because for radio, they would just, they would get a disc, they would rip in whatever songs they wanted, and then that disc would go on the shelf. So they never actually used the disc. So they were trying to give us the same disc, and it was a silver CD. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, take that silver CD. I tried to explain it to the guys here. I said, take that silver CD, go into a dark room and shine a flashlight on it and tell me how well you can read that silver CD. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh my gosh, we never thought about that. Like, we're thinking about this as radio guys. So then they, put a white coating on it. Then I said, you need some sort of color to differentiate because you can't just have every single week be this just plain white because then they might get mixed up. So I said, you need to just add some color and rotate some colors. So they said, all right, well, here's some different colors we can do. So then we started rotating colors every week, 4 colors in the system. Those were probably a couple of the biggest things. How we shipped them, they used to ship them in these cardboard cases. They ship them with J cards, which is what you typically see in the back of a jewel case. So they ship them in those, and I'm like, no one's carrying around jewel cases, so these J cards are a waste. You need to make it an insert where it's something small that can sit in CD books. So just little things. These are all just little tiny things that all of us in the DJ industry take for granted, but they had no idea about.
Right. Can you share any of the benefits of the various subscription options? There's weekly, I know there's monthly.
Basically, I tell people you can kind of think of the two different services in a couple different ways. Basically, there's like really fast and everything, which is Prime Cuts Weekly. Mm-hmm. And then there's just the hits after they become hits, which is Prime Cuts Monthly. So Prime Cuts Monthly is only songs that chart top 10 after they chart top 10. So we developed that strictly for wedding DJs because what happened was we had people that started to get overwhelmed with how much music we were putting out every week. And they said, I just don't need this much. I only do weddings. I just don't need a lot of music. So give me just the hits. So that's why we developed that. And we said, let's make it a bunch of different genres. So we've got like 5 different genres on Prime Cuts Monthly. So the nice thing is, for the most part, it's pretty foolproof. Like you could pop one of those discs in and any song on there is going to be a huge recognizable hit. And then there's the flip side, which is Prime Cuts Weekly, where It's going to be every song, every genre. You know, the way we market it is every series, every genre that we offer to radio, and we do it at the same time we give it to radio. So you don't have to wait and for a song to come out. With that said, you know, sometimes we'll email us. It doesn't happen too much anymore, but every so often, like a radio station will just decide to start playing a song off of an album for no reason other than they just want to. They want to just try and break a song. But the record label hasn't released it as a single. So we have to work in conjunction with them because they have some really pretty intricate marketing plans as far as like, hey, we're going to release this new song from Bruno Mars, and we're going to work the heck out of this. Like, we're going to talk to all of our radio stations. We're going to get them to play this and play this and play this. And we're going to take it to number one, and we're going to milk it for as much money as we can. And then once we're done with it, we move on to the next one. So if us as a company, we release a different Bruno Mars song while they're still working the first one, and we kind of dilute the Bruno Mars market for a little bit, they'll get really upset because then we could potentially be costing them money. So a pretty defined system as far as how they release the newest stuff. But the biggest difference between the two is basically the timeliness and the depth, you know, how much you're going to get.
Got it. Got it. So what are some typical misconceptions that DJs have about the service? I mean, for example, I'm sure there are DJs who say, found a new song by Drake on Spotify or on the Billboard charts, and it's not available on Prime Cuts. Why? What the heck's going on? Why not?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say one of the biggest things is where some DJs are looking for their research. Because a lot of people they're looking on iTunes or Spotify or wherever they're looking. We only look at Mediabase, which monitors actual radio airplay, which is a pretty good indication of what is recognizable. Radio kind of on decline, so it's not maybe quite on the same plane as it was maybe 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if it was a big radio hit, pretty much everybody knew it that listened to, you know, that type of radio. So it's a little bit different now, but I would say that's the biggest thing is just someone might say, oh, and I can remember this over the years, like, gosh, I can't think of a specific example, but like I'll throw like Disney. Like there's so many of these Disney shows out that years ago, like one of the artists would come out with a song. Like there was a kid that was on a Disney show that they would come out with a song. It would be like number one on iTunes. But the only people that would ever need that is like someone that does junior high dances. And our goal is to like service our clients as a mass, like that's most usable. So we would say, well, we're not going to put out a song that only a percentage of our subscribers are going to use. So I would say that's one of the biggest things. It's just, and that's one of the goals of the service too, is, you know, we don't tell people ignore the charts. Like there's no reason to say like, oh, you don't have to do any research, but that's why we put out those charts every single week. That's based on Mediabase. We're trying to help you do all the work for you.
That's great.
So that way you don't have to go out and figure out which are the big hits. Like we're going to spoon feed it to you. Basically, we're going to give you the songs. We're going to give you the charts so you're prepared and you can spend the time on your business.
That's awesome. That's great. And the other thing is too, I'm sure back catalogs, and you probably get frequent questions from DJs asking, oh, are you going to release any hits and put them in MP3 or lossless format for something that maybe a wedding client wants from the hits of 1994 or something and top hits of 1994. Is that something that you've either considered or you're not doing for a good reason?
Yeah, no. So basically the short answer is there's no, and a lot of people throw around the word pool as far as like, I'm looking for a pool. I'm looking pool music service, and record pool was like a hot phrase for so many years. We're not a pool. We're a promotional music service. And that's what all the companies like us are. I mean, there are record pools out there, of course. But the main companies that DJs know of right now, we're all promotional music services. And there's no promotional value for the record label. If you play the new Bruno Mars song at a wedding, someone may hear that song and say, oh man, that's such a good song, I need to go buy it. But you playing a Beatles song is not going to make people say, oh man, I've been meaning to buy that song for the last 25 years because I heard it at a wedding, I'm going to go buy it.
Okay.
So there's no value there for the record label. So that's why they don't license any of the older content to us to offer to our subscribers.
Got it.
But yeah, we get calls and emails almost every day from DJs looking for older music. And, I tell them you just have to build a library kind of the old-fashioned way.
Right.
Buy CDs, buy individual tracks, whatever you need to do.
Just understanding the whole promotional aspects of the subscription. That's something I didn't realize myself. And, you know, because that was a question I had for quite a while too. I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome, you know, if you could do that. But no, I understand it now. Now, Jim, is there anything new and upcoming that you're planning to incorporate into the subscriptions?
There is, not unfortunately to the point that I can really talk about it.
Okay.
But yeah, we've got, I actually have a meeting later today I'm pretty excited about. We have some things that we're working on. Always want to innovate. We were, as far as I know, one of the first like DJ only company that went all download. And that was just kind of an evolution thing. We sometimes have people asking us, well, you know, why don't you have discs anymore? And, you know, example I use is my phone. Like I've got the new iPhone and I have no headphone jack. And when I first thought about getting a phone with no headphone jack, I thought, man, how am I going to live without a headphone jack? But it's been fine. And I manage, and it's just kind of the way that the things are going. So we're always looking to evolve and stay with technology. So yeah, we have a couple things that we're working on that I'm pretty excited about.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about Prime Cuts Plus?
Sure. Yeah. Prime Cuts Plus is, it's pretty awesome. We actually, for years, we used to get people that would want to subscribe just to Prime Cuts Plus, but we've never offered that as a standalone. It's always just a free add-on for all of our subscribers. It has over 8,000 downloadable elements. The main two parts, and the two parts that are still updated, are the instrumentals and acapellas. And those are full version, original version instrumentals and acapellas. For a long, long time, every month we would update with maybe 15 to 20 of each for all the new stuff, but the labels have stopped releasing as much of the new stuff for the instrumentals and acapellas. Excuse me. So we've started to go back through our catalog, and we've started to fill in. So if you go look, it's really cool. There are just some really awesome instrumentals from some old songs. And so I personally use those. I just DJ weddings. So I personally use those for like wedding party introduction music. So you have something clean to talk over. That's awesome. But we have people that use them for award shows, like corporate events. Like if you just need some nice background music that's recognizable. So I know some DJs use it at like homecomings or school dances when maybe they're announcing like, oh, the prom king and queen, they've got some cool intro or talk over music. There's Name That Tune because they're the original version. Some people use them at like bars and trivia nights and stuff like that. So those are all just instrumentals, but then there's so much more in there. And it's all free for all of our subscribers.
Jim, that's really exciting. I wasn't even aware of the acapella or the instrumentals, and I could just think of it now because my primary business is weddings as well. And for those introductions, instead of playing a karaoke version of a song because you need that instrumental, you have the actual real music for the instrumental, so it doesn't come across as cheesy or just a weird production for it. So I think the benefits for that alone are huge. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you can make your own remixes too, incorporate with the acapella and different music behind it that you want to do. So very good stuff. Very cool. Very cool. So if you have Prime Cuts weekly, when do you get those downloads? When are they available?
Yeah, so we do, for both services, we have pretty set times. So for Prime Cuts Weekly, it's every Wednesday by 5 p.m. Central. And one of the things I can't talk about that we're working on with our updates is right now we just post it on the website. Kind of just transparent, it just kind of shows up. Sometimes if there's a really big song, we'll post on Facebook and say, hey, this week is up with, here's this big song that's going to be out. But we don't have a notification system at this point because fortunately, we're so large with our subscribers that we're kind of concerned that it would affect everyone's user experience if, thousands of people hit the website all at once to go download. So we just kind of silently put it up there, usually between 3 and 5 o'clock Central Time every Wednesday. But that's one thing that's part of our new system that we're working on is a notification system and being able to handle a huge influx of traffic at once where it won't impact everyone's experience. And then as far as Prime Cuts Monthly goes, we do post that because it is just once a month. And for that, it's kind of interesting, like going back to how things have changed. Like that service, we always released it once a month by the 7th of every month. So that way subscribers knew, hey, this is when it's going to be shipping. But with downloads now, we kind of changed our schedule. We try to get it out by the first weekend of the month because weekends are so important for DJs.
Right.
So we don't even look at dates anymore. It's just like, hey, the first weekend of the month, we're just going to do our best to get it out because we know that's so big.
So here's my subscription. And the thing that I just love about it every single week is, so here, as you can see, you get the whole, you get the ability to download the entire, and save it as basically. So you just can save that to your external drive, which is great. You have the MP version, you have the FLAC version available. So then if you look down here every single week, you have all these artists here with songs that might not be on the radio yet. But this is killer, and I love this. And I don't know whose idea this was to incorporate this in here, but the easy mix is, I think they save a lot of time for DJs who don't want to have to do those loops or don't want to do the loop in or loop outs, and they could just use these to their advantage when mixing into a song, you know, whether it's a remix version that you put up here, which I also love too. So Closer by Chainsmokers, for example, is not really a danceable song just by the BPMs and the energy of the song. But there's also another version that's included in here, which is a remix. So I like how you incorporate the remix versions of songs in the subscription too, because then you'll hear another version of Closer, which is faster paced, more danceable, more club sounding. So I think those two things are really killer about the subscription.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, so much, kind of going back to how I started here. I came here because of the feedback I gave, and they took it and used almost all of it. And so I do my best to take as much feedback as I can, as much as I can that makes sense for the service and make sure for the subscribers as a whole. But adding UK, like, you know, you got that pulled up right now. Adding UK, that was the subscriber feedback. Doing the easy mixes, that was subscriber feedback. So a lot of it's based on just what we hear from the subscribers.
I really enjoy it. It's great. Jim, what's the best way for DJs to get in touch with you?
So we have a website. It's primecutsmusic.com. Make sure you put in Prime Cuts Music, because Prime Cuts used to be like a meat company. I don't even know. Like, we literally, no joke, we literally get emails every so often. There is some company called Prime Cuts that sells meat. I can remember one day coming in, getting an email from someone like, I'm really mad I didn't get my meat shipment. I want my money back. And I'm like, what are you talking about, meat? So make sure you put the music on there, primecutsmusic.com. We are open Monday through Friday. That's sometimes a misconception too. Like, sometimes people will email us on the weekend and expect that they're going to hear back from us. And we do try to check in from time to time on the weekends, but we are a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 business. Our phone number is 972-406-6800. So people are certainly welcome to call, but the bulk of the information about the service or ability to sign up is all on primecutsmusic.com.
Awesome. Jim, thanks so much for coming on the show today. I'm sure there's a lot of DJs that don't have subscriptions and they're really wondering, well, what's this all about? And so thanks so much for that. And stay tuned next week for episode 17. Thanks again, Jim. Take care, everyone.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.